joining us. My name is Laura Evans and I am the founder and lead trainer at Unleash Your Potential, the NLP training provider, and your host for this podcast episode. Today I've got Colita Dainton with me, who is a success coach, and she's going to share with you exactly what difference NLP has made to her, both in terms of the results she's now able to help her clients get, but also the way in which it's helped her to become a much more successful businesswoman in her own right. She's also going to share with you 3 techniques and ways in which you can improve your confidence and share something called the circle of confidence. I'm sure you're going to love it, just like I did recording it. So let's get going. Is there a client that for you stands out that you're really proud of that you could tell us about?
They're most definitely, I'm proud of all of my clients. I better put that out there because actually in each and every success story that I've got, they've all succeeded in their own way. And one thing I always say is that actually I don't do the hard work. Yes, I've learnt and I've studied and I still read my manuals and listen to my audios, but in reality, I'm just the tour guide. So I'm the one to teach them and take them through that journey. One gentleman I've worked with is the one that really does make my heart sing because he's literally this week sent me a picture on Facebook Messenger. He is my new house and we'd worked, when he first came to my house, he sat face in his hands, no self-esteem, no self-belief, no confidence in himself, and just said, you know what, I don't see the point in living anymore. My relationships are non-existent. My marriage has failed. The business is going down the pan. What do I do? And I kind of said, okay, let's break this down. Number 1, we need to work on your self-belief and your self-esteem. And then actually, how do we get the results that you want to achieve? And that's the biggest thing. What do you want? Because sometimes we focus too much on what's crap and what's gone before. But actually, what do you want? Where do you want to go? And how do we get you there? And we worked with him. We had quite a few sessions, but I threw everything at it, every single thing. So we did belief changes, we did anchoring for confidence, we did timeline therapy, which actually he came out of timeline therapy and told me he'd been flying his aeroplane to get his results.
Excellent.
And for me, in the classroom, you don't get told that your client's going to fly an aeroplane on their timeline, but actually that's what he did. I asked him to write a goal. And that goal had to be specific and as if he had it right now, if he could touch it and feel it. And he said, well, can I draw? Because I don't like writing. So I was like, cool, whatever works for you. He drew me a picture of his farmhouse that he wanted to have. And I swear not, he sent me a picture this week. He's just moved into a house that looks the spit of his farmhouse in France. He's getting married. His life has done a 360 and he goes around telling everybody, I changed his life. For me, I'm kind of like, well, that's quite a brave statement to make. But in reality, for him, he was in a place where he just couldn't see any future. Whereas now he is absolutely turning his business around. He's moved into his dream house. He's got his wife to be and he's loving it. So for me, that really makes me go, I did that.
I was going to say, how does it feel when a client, I know for me how it feels, but for you, how did it feel when that guy turned around and said, you have changed my life?
It's an awesome feeling. It's also a little bit embarrassing because I'm kind of like, no, you changed your life. But actually, okay, I gave you the time and taught you some techniques and took you on a journey to realise that actually those negative thoughts, we don't need to live with that. We need to think about the positive, we need to think about the future, and we need to think about what we want. And if we can work on stopping that little self-talk in the back of your mind at the same time, win-win. So yeah, for me, totally fulfilled, 100%.
I love it. I love it. And obviously every client is different. And that's one of the things in NLP we teach, isn't it? Is the fact that our client is our roadmap to success and we go with the client. And as you quite rightly say, we're the tour guide.
Yeah.
We've got, and that's what I love about the way we train, is the toolkit is huge.
Yeah.
Like you can tailor it so specific to the client. In your view, I'm sure there were many, but if there was to be one technique that you used with him that you think made the biggest difference, do you know what that would have been?
I think part of it was teaching him to listen to his mind chatter and maybe if he's feeling a little bit overwhelmed or a little bit I can't cope, 3 simple techniques that this is simple, this is easy, this is fun. Because you can train your brain to actually think, hey, this is simple, this is easy, this is fun. And if you really want to go all out, you can stick a pencil in your mouth, which makes you smile, which again sets those neurons off going in a different direction and makes make a task mundane or something you can't cope with really easy.
So let's just backtrack, because you've just given two great examples. No, not at all. I just want the listener to really be able to comprehend and take that and use something with it. So this is easy, this is fun. What was the third part of that mantra?
This is simple, this is easy, this is fun. And you just repeat it to yourself a couple of times. I've tried it working on Excel spreadsheets. When you've got a load of data in front of you, you just think, really, I don't want to do it. You just say to yourself, this is simple, this is easy, this is fun. This is simple, this is easy, this is fun. And actually, for something, mentally, your brain goes, oh, okay, this is simple, this is easy, this is fun. Instead of going, I can't do this, it's not going to happen, I'm bored, I'm fed up. All of a sudden, you're changing the way you think, so therefore getting the results you want.
Yeah. And that, I've never heard that phrase before. I've heard you obviously say it previously, because we've been around, we've been knowing each other for a while now. But what I love about that mantra is, it is so simple. Like, you can have kids doing that. I'm sure some of your child clients that you work with probably do that. But it fits so perfectly with one of the themes of NLP, which is what you focus on is what you get.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right, and for all the personal development that I've done over the years, I still get in a rut sometimes, and there are conversations where you've said that to me not too far ago when we were working on something, and you turn around and say, this is simple, this is easy, this is fun, this is simple, this is easy, this is fun, and it just works brilliantly.
And it's quick, and you could just use it anytime, any place. And if you're talking to yourself, hey, it's a sign of intelligence, apparently. So statistics say. Can't remember which ones, but
I love it. But yeah, it's like, focus on what you want, do that, and then I love it. So you mentioned another technique there as well, which is about sticking a pencil in your mouth and smiling. Tell us a bit more about that.
So this one is one probably pre-NLP that I learned, but actually it ties in nicely because it makes the corners of your mouth smile, which therefore convinces your brain that actually you're feeling happy, which, So
our listeners,
both sticking our fingers in our mouth here.
Our listeners, you won't be able to have seen what we just did, but we just put our fingers in our mouths to represent a pen.
But yeah, and it's about your brain neurons connecting and thinking, oh, actually, I'm feeling happy. So releasing those happiness endorphins throughout you. And it's just simple that, that
how long
you
have to do it for?
Not long at all. I once did it in a networking breakfast and they all thought I was completely bonkers. But I gave everybody a pen, so it was good marketing, and actually said, just try it, because if anything, you laugh at yourself. Yeah. And if you're laughing at yourself, all of a sudden you feel a bit better. Yeah.
Well, your state's changed, right? I mean, we know from NLP that our thinking and our emotions and our physiology, what we do in our body, are all linked and impact our results, right?
Yeah.
So I love that technique, because I think you're actually changing physiology. All right, it's in the mouth area, but you're still trying to trick the brain. The thing I love about the unconscious mind is it can't actually effectively distinguish between reality and fantasy.
Exactly.
And so you're doing that, and if you can laugh at yourself and change your emotional state, fabulous. Thanks for sharing those two with us.
No, that's okay.
Really useful. And take you back pre-NLP, if I can, because I know, and you know, and our listeners will start to understand just what a difference NLP and timeline therapy makes. But I want to take you back pre-NLP to when you were coaching and you didn't have this toolkit. What would that feel like now if I was to take that toolkit away from you and say, you can't have that now, and you had to go back to coaching the way you were before? What are your thoughts about that?
I want to cry. In reality, not that coaching was bad at that point, because it wasn't. I was doing a lot of executive coaching over Skype. I probably did listen to building rapport, sensory acuity, so that's watching their body language and things, but not really paying much attention to how that affected their results. But what I would say is that I always felt there was something missing. There was always that element of the coaching was never 110%. You'd set them a task, and they'd say, oh yeah, I could get that done, and then you go back a week or a month later, and actually, have you done that? Well, no, I didn't have time. Or whereas actually stepping fast forward to go and say, okay, you've got this task, I can't do that. Okay, so let's change that limiting belief, because I'm hearing there is that you believe you can't, so therefore you won't be able to. Let's change that. Let's do a quick technique, couple of minutes. Tell me, is it black, white, is it colour? Which is generalised NLP speak. But there was always felt there was something not quite 100%. Obviously, that's not saying I wouldn't give 100%, but never quite got the results that I wanted. Came into the NLP classroom and suddenly thought, oh, actually, hang on a minute, because not only are we just sitting there and holding them accountable, we're making changes internally and externally, which then get them, the clients, the result they want. Plus, we're focusing on what they want. And I'm not sure that really happened, prior, although we talk about how would you like your team to be and how did you find that leadership and development training, what more would you want? Whereas actually didn't talk about that key person and their values and their beliefs and the things that are important to them, which I now know plays a massive role in gaining your success.
Yeah, hugely. Those that have trained with us, and you'll have heard me say this several times, that for me, executive coaching was always what I call conscious mind coaching.
Yeah.
Like you, pre-NLP, I could get sensible results for people. I'd get frustrated that there was always a reason not to do something, or there was always a blocker, and I didn't have anything I could use to help. And it's like, and you must have found this as well. When you're working with a client, it's screaming at you that the client has a problem, like they don't believe in themselves or they don't have confidence. And executive coaching is great in the sense that we ask great questions and we try and tease the answer out of the client. But sometimes I used to sit there and think, I can see it. I can see. And executive coaching tells me I can't tell you, or I can't.
Yeah, that's not the role of a coach, is not to tell you.
And I think, don't get me wrong, there's absolutely a place for great questions and getting the client to get their goal, to decide where they want to go and make steps towards that. But, isn't life easier when you can just turn around and say, you've said this like 5 times. Can I ask you a question? Do you believe? And they sit there and they go, yeah, that's a problem. And you go, okay, so would you like me to help you with that?
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you help one problem in one specific context and it has ramifications in other areas of their lives.
And have you found that since training and learning in NLP and coaching people, that actually that's cut down your kind of coaching time with them?
Hugely for me. And you must have found the same, right? It's just, for me, you could sit there for a whole hour and deal with one question, and I could ask 100 questions around that problem rather. And then you think that you've made progress, and then you haven't.
Yeah.
Whereas I think we can get results so much faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your view on the life coaching industry? Did you ever do a life coaching course before you came to NLP? And tell us a little bit about the differences, and you tell me what your journey was with it.
Okay, I found that the term coach is bandied around quite a lot, and sometimes, especially business networking, you might turn up and there might be 15 people who say, I'm a coach in the room. And for me, I kind of question, okay, you're a coach. So where's your credentials? Where does that sit? What does that mean to you? What does that mean to me? I did do a life coaching qualification. It was online. It was very much a set of PowerPoint slides, questions, and here's a scenario, what would you say? And then you'd get a generated answer. Woohoo, congratulations, you're now a life coach. Well, sorry, not supposed to swear on podcasts, but there we go. The reality is that's what I feel, because I think people can easily go in, buy a $50 coaching course, and suddenly they're accredited and they're a life coach, when there's a lot more behind it. And that's not saying that you can't be a good coach naturally, because I do believe part of where I come in as a coach is that I've always been that way, about interested in people. But I think to have the techniques and the tools that the NLP training gave me has sent me a million times further than any other life coaches. And I'm trying to be very polite here, because I have multiple friends who are life coaches, and then I sit and I talk with them and they don't listen to me, and then they're telling me all about them, and I'm thinking, first rule of being a coach is actually it's about the client, and it's the client focus, and it's the client journey, and actually I'm kind of irrelevant. I'm here to listen, to help them, and to help them focus, not tell them how my day has been and how I think you should do this. That's not a coach. So in terms of your question, they're okay.
Oh, you're so politically correct.
I didn't bother printing off the certificate. I've got it that I have people who come to me who want to work as coaches, and they get a suite of different tools that check this out, check that out. But actually, if you really want the real deal, and I'm not saying it because I'm sat here with you, I would highly recommend that, the NLP classroom experience and immersing yourself in that training where you're working alongside like-minded others and you're learning tools and techniques that work for you. That is something that you can walk straight out of that classroom, meet somebody in service station and help them straight away.
Yeah, no, I You're very polite. I'm not going to reply as polite. But yeah, I've yet to meet, and I'm going to be straight with the listener and with you, I have yet to meet anybody that has done a life coaching or even an NLP practitioner course online that's actually capable of getting people great results.
Yeah,
it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, what those courses do, and I don't want to discredit them completely, what they will do is give you some theoretical knowledge.
Yeah, definitely.
Theoretical knowledge is good, but it's rubbish if you can't implement it.
Yeah.
So let's come back towards now then,
Okay.
in terms of where you are now. You're an experienced coach. You've been using NLP timeline therapy for, I don't know how many years now, several years. You've achieved March the Coach status in all of those disciplines. I'm hugely proud of you as one of our delegates. But if you were to think about how the courses have helped you to become a really confident, competent coach, what do you think for you is the kind of the highlight of what that helped you with?
There's been a massive shift in my thinking, my attitude towards other people. I'm still kind of shocking people by the fact that somebody does some really poor behaviour in their model of the world, and I'll go, yeah, but that's how it's okay for them, and they're kind of like, what? And I've got this calmness with me that I'm kind of like, actually, that's pretty cool. Slightly scary because sometimes I think, have I lost my emotions? But no, it's just that I keep it all in check. And what it's given me as well is the inner confidence, I guess, that self-belief that actually, yeah, I'm damn good at this stuff and I want to do more of this stuff. And then I get the results where people, you know, message me and say, oh my God, you've changed my life. And that for me is the win. So in terms of development, self-confidence, increased knowledge, learning. I think we're all on a journey, but...
I asked you for one.
Yeah, no, when I've given you loads, I'm like, oh, shut up.
So let's say for a moment that our listener that's listening to this podcast with us is thinking about becoming a coach.
Yeah.
And they're obviously, as we all do, surveying what's out there.
Yeah.
And they've probably stumbled across this podcast and go, oh, okay, you know, becoming a confident coach. You know, what's that all about? So I think for me on our courses, there's two things. There is becoming confident in actually using the techniques and getting client great results.
Yeah.
But there's also the bit about actually setting up a great business. So tell me a bit about becoming confident in running a business as a coach.
Yeah, the sales course for me, I came away with a great big manual full of not only tools and techniques that's part of the course, but actually all the notes that you also learn from other people and delegates on their journey. And what I would say is that I've made some great friends since my training that we've kept in touch with and have bounced off and utilised and supported each other. And sometimes they'll ring me up and say, how do you do this? And sometimes I'll think, oh, how do you work that? Or what do you do? So you get... Yeah, and I've forgotten. There's so much that I've done that it's kind of...
I think we do, though, because when you're a coach, I think, you know, one of the things we forget, we think of ourselves as a coach with a coach skill set to be able to help people. And absolutely, I see so many people set up coaching businesses with all the most wonderful intentions, really wanting to help people in the world and make a difference, but they don't know the first thing about running a business. And that's why I'm so passionate in the Unleash Your Potential business, that we don't just equip people with the skills to be a great coach, but we actually go, here's a course that can actually help you sell this stuff. And also, here's a course that helps you set up and run a successful business. And to me, without that, I'm not being funny, but you'll become a statistic that you'll start a coaching business and you'll be out of business before you start it. Do you remember the conversation we had where I told you need to tell the world that your taxi light was on?
Yes. Yes,
it's about that.
Yeah, we had we did, and I wrote that in my book. I am for hire. I'm a taxi, so come on, let me take you on a journey, and I'll drive. You know, you can be the passenger, or actually, you drive. I'll be the passenger, and I'll tell you where we're going. So I do recall that we.
Which is an easy mistake to make, right? And this is the mistake I see so many coaches make, because, they have an amazing skill set and then they don't tell the world that they're available.
Yeah.
It's
Nobody
like,
knows.
I can help you. And it's like, it's the world's best kept secret. And this is why, for me, coaches go in and out of business all the time, and why, I think it's really important that we become great business people. Yeah. So you're confident as a coach. Mm-hmm. You're confident as a businesswoman running a business.
Yeah.
So if you were to put those on a scale of 0 to 10, where would you be?
Oh, that's a good question. Coach, Definitely 10.
Good.
Check me out. Business, probably about 9, because I think there's always more that I can do. And I'm aware that part of that is my journey of doing my own thing and knowing where I want to be. Because also being made redundant, I was a little bit like, what do I want to do and where am I and actually who am I? And when we sort of have the conversation, what sort of coach are you? Oh, don't know, because actually I work with adults, I work with children, I work with phobias, I work with confidence, I work with doctors, I work with all sorts of people. So yeah, I'd say that there's always room for improvement. I can always grow and you know,
we're always learning,
yeah,
right?
always learning.
Always
learning.
There
we go.
I say to people, I'm the first to admit when we're in the training room, I am not the finished article.
Yeah.
Like, and I've done years of training and I've done all sorts of stuff. But I don't think we're ever done.
No.
There's always more to learn and there's always more people to learn from.
Yeah.
You know, I'm learning all the time.
Yeah.
Learning all the time. So before we start to move towards the end of the show, and it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here today, and I've loved hearing your journey, I always like to point out to people that sometimes people don't realise how far they've come. Because I remember you when you came in on that first prac course, however long ago that was. And I am always in awe at the journey. You know, I love what I train clearly, but I am always so amazed at the results and the journey that these courses can take people on, where they go from where they join me to where they leave me, you know, and I'm after independent people. I don't want people hanging around. I love my delegates dearly, as you all know. But I want you to go off and do this stuff. I want you to go make a difference in the world. And to see you living and breathing and doing that, when you turned up on that first course, having just been made redundant, kind of thinking you wanted to be a coach, not really sold on the idea, absolutely petrified probably, if you were really honest, about trying to paddle your own boat.
What the hell am I doing?
What am I going to do? And to see you now, a successful coach with successful clients. I mean, we've talked about just one client. I'm going to give you one more client to talk about before we wrap up. But there are so many, and nothing makes me prouder than to hear that. So, one last client. Tell me about one other that you'd like to talk about related to confidence, because that's obviously the theme of the show.
Okay, so probably my doctor.
Yeah.
Said doctor, I'm not sure how much I can give away, client confidentiality.
Anonymous
doctor needed to pass an exam to become the next level up, so consultant or somewhere along that line. Had failed the exam for 6 times previous. Wow. Had no self-confidence, no self-belief. No way was he going to pass this exam. We worked together. We did a full day split into 2, so 2 half days, which actually worked for both of us because they were tired. I'm trying not to give it away here. It keeps coming out. Anyway, cut a long story short, did some belief changes, didn't go as far as TLT because that would have been a whole different session. Sorry, timeline therapy for anybody who doesn't know TLT. Passed the exam. In fact, passed the exam and didn't happen to tell me. And I was kind of like, hang on. And I remember it was a cold, wet Friday night. I'd been off doing something during the day and I just decided to drop a text. How are you getting on? Because I try and keep in touch with my clients. Even when we're finished, I will keep a chat, a bit like you, I guess, with your delegates. You know, you kind of, I like to see their journey. And I said, how was the interview? How'd you go? Oh, yeah, I passed. Well, I was up there. I was just like, woo, yes. I think I did a Facebook Live in my dad's porchway going, guess what? I've just had the best news. I then rang said doctor and was like, congratulations. For that person, it meant that they could then get their next level of promotion. You know, their self-belief has gone through the roof. Actually more than capable of passing the exam, know their stuff, but it was other stuff that got in the way. For me, as a coach, yes, that was a result. And
do you love it the way that a client will just pass? Yeah, I passed.
Yeah, just did it.
I passed. You know, you just think this was a big deal for you a few months ago.
And I really want to know, something I read not so long ago actually is that if you've got a toothache, when you go to the dentist and they take that tooth out, you no longer have toothache. Do you think to go back to the dentist and say, by the way, thanks so much for taking my tooth out. You did a good job. No, toothache's gone. You move on with your life.
So I know, changing tack slightly, I know you've got a little treat for our listeners because the kind of, I can't get my words out. The theme of this episode of our show is about confidence and being a confident coach. And in order to help our listeners, that's you guys, to become more confident, I know you've got something that you'd like to give them. So
yeah, we have in the NLP world anchoring techniques where we utilize the state that we talked about at the very beginning about putting yourself in a good state. And we've got the circle of excellence or circle of confidence, which is an anchoring technique that you can use on your own. You don't need to work with a coach particularly. It's on my website as a download, but you can take that technique, which is basically finding a time when you were really positive, happy. Confidence might be an issue because sometimes people have an issue with words, but a time where you really felt you could manage something, whatever that state is for you, maximizing that state, really getting it into that state and visualizing a space on the floor that you can step in. So that with anchoring, what we do is we stack up these positive states so that if you've got a time where you're not feeling so more positive, you can then access that state, i.e. visualizing a circle on the floor or on your knuckle or on your earlobe or whatever, and then you can use it. So we call it the circle of confidence or the circle of excellence, I think it's called. But yeah, it's something that you can pop on my website and find, download, and it's a tool that you can utilize if you really need to build your confidence. Then it's something that you can teach yourself quite easily to do.
And where can they get it?
They can find it on my website, which is www.litabix.com, which is Litabix.
And the actual document that you've just talked about?
If you go to free stuff, and you'll see it. It's the circle of excellence, so it's quite easy. Yeah.
And I love that exercise. I mean, it's been a staple part of NLP for so long. You know, NLP anchoring is something that I love teaching, and that, you know, it's about, for me, it's, you know, if you take anchoring back to its core, it's about stimulus response. It's about taking something that you've historically been great at, anchoring it or linking it to something like the circle, and then being able to utilise that in the future when you need to. So it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today. Just again, if people want to get in contact with you, they want to ask you questions or find out more, where can they find you?
So you can go on my website and you'll find me there, and you get to see my face and see what I look like. But any sort of social media, you'll find me as Litabix on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. I'm all over the place, and it's Litabix is my name.
How do you spell that?
Litabix.
Fabulous, fabulous. Right, so I've got to finish off the show. I've got some quickfire questions to ask you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Right, so I'm after short answers, okay, to these questions. So you're ready? Okay, so what does unleash your potential mean to you?
It means, it means awesomeness.
Oh, I love it.
There we go.
I love it.
Yeah, because it's been a journey, but actually I walk away and think, yeah, I'm pretty awesome. And actually, you know, unleash your potential is too.
Ah, kind of you to say. Have you got a favourite word? Don't think about it for too long.
I'm not. I've just, have I got a favourite word? Bananas is probably a good word.
I love it.
I don't know where that comes from.
I love it. If you could go back to being any age at all, what age would you go back to?
Oh, 17.
Go on.
College, nightclubs, parties, loud music, late nights, and I wasn't tired. So I could go out 5 nights out of 7 and live it up and still get up the next day and function.
Okay, if there's one pearl of wisdom that you give to most people that you find yourself saying time and time and time again, what's that pearl of wisdom?
Trust in you and actually celebrate your success, because we don't do enough of that. We don't do enough of celebrating what we've done, whether that be you managed to do the ironing this week or fold all the socks or win a huge contract. We seem to forget. We always tend to focus on our negatives. Actually celebrate your success. What have you done in the last week that you can go, yeah, I did that. I got the kids to school on time, or I managed to cook dinner, or I got all the washing nailed, or actually I've submitted that project, or I made my boss happy. Celebrate your success.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So we have a feature on the podcast, which is the Unleash Your Potential badges.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. So in this jar, there are some 50 odd badges, all with words related to NLP in some way. So what I want you to do is put your hand inside the jar, give it a good old rotate around. You might want to pick a couple, and I want you to pick the one that means something to you,
Right.
and then I'm going to ask you to tell us about
Have
it.
a lovely handful here.
Okay, one, Colita, one.
No, I don't want that one because we've talked about that.
Cool.
I've Brave.
Okay, tell us about Brave.
Because I think NLP gave me the tools to be brave and to actually go out there and do what I want to do and keep doing what I want to do, and decided to make that decision that, do you know what, I'm not going to be employed and be stuck in a mundane job that I don't like doing. I'm going to be brave. I'm going to get out there and nail it. And that's exactly what I'm doing.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming in and joining me on the show today.
Me. It's very exciting.
It's been an absolute pleasure. If you've enjoyed this podcast today and you want to hear more about NLP and what it can do for you, like everybody else, then do subscribe, like and review this podcast. And by all means, let us know feedback as well. If you'd like to find out about the courses that Colita was talking about today, then head on over to our website, which is unleashyourpotential.org.uk/courses, and you'll be able to find out about them. So thank you. And until next time, take care.